side in the red and blue suit. Paulie Massimino in the all black. Green flag in the air for KA100 from Daytona. And 50 karts are all trying to find their way through turn one. Massimino got shoveled wide. It is maybe Christian Miles or Garzone in the lead now. Big time change up front. And as they quickly try to work their way through turns 2, 3, 4, 5, who we got? Miles taking a look down at the pushback bumper to see if it engaged or not. Down the backstretch and through the bus stop chicane, Christian Miles, your leader, and into second for Caleb Gaffera, third for Garzone. Paulie Massimino from the pole back to fourth, and Christian Miles is going to go straight to the low side to block. Here comes Garzone to get to second. We are in for a fight here from what it looks like in KA100, Alex. One down.
This is a fun top three. Three of the most aggressive drivers in North America. Christian Miles, Garzone, Gaffera, not afraid to get some elbow grease out there. Blake Nash to fourth. Look at this, Massimino fifth, Overback 10th. That front row, major issues. I just think they got caught out by the lack of grip they had on the braking entering turn number one. Massimino now under fire from Fisher, having to go defensive on Ty there. Peyton Phillips, we haven't really talked about the 911 all weekend long, but he's been slowly, methodically working his way into the top group. Donald Bonilla has worked his way up to 8th. Mateo Pappas, to me, has been the rising star of the weekend, and he's been up there throughout as well. Nash through, Pappas through as well. Bonilla loses 2.
Yeah, a couple of moves there in the last corner, and then everyone back down to the white line into turn number one. It's going to be like this until something splits the pack apart. It's one big line of go-karts, all trailing Christian Miles and Sebastian Garzone. It is back to familiar territory here with Mike Doty racing for Christian Miles and an OTK machine. We saw him last year on a TV kart. Now Ty Fisher leads that group in the lime green colors. Paulie Massimino and James Overbeck, nowhere to go right now for the pair of them. Overbeck even further back behind Peyton Phillips. And I'll correct you a little bit, Alex. We were pretty good about showing Peyton's progression, but yeah, first time this weekend he's anywhere close to the battle for the lead, and he just got closer now with Sebastian Garzone going to the front. And well, Christian tried to point to tell him to go forward, but everyone's just going to block, I think, until something happens. Let's look at 3, look at 4. I mean, they're all still just narrow, so narrow that the back of the pack can close up in an instant, although it looked like someone went off there around maybe 11th. Who would that have been? I think that might have been Brandon Lemke and Jose Hernandez.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, because now Vid Montien's up there in 11th. Vid Montien, a driver that also had a pretty rough opening lap. He was up in the top 5 or 6 positions there, down there in 11th, but we know he's a driver that loves to get his elbows out as well. Phillips through on Fisher. Overback's going to go through as well. Ty's had a really smart weekend so far. I mean, maybe leaving the door open too much sometimes, as Caleb G's going to ramp over top of Blake Nash. Both drivers lucky to make it through and not lose a spot.
Well, that was hairy, and Paulie Massimino is going to pay the price for it. He got bottled up the most. Stacks that pack back up again, and now Vid Montien and Isert are there. It's a track position game right now. Christian Miles back in front of Garzone. Overback fending off from Mateo Pappas here. And yeah, indeed, the two that went off, Brandon Lemke, our top qualifier in his debut weekend with Speed Concepts Racing, and Jose Hernandez. They crossed the line 15th and 18th last time by. Check out the pushback deployed there for Caleb Gaffera. Already going to lose this one probably in the scale line without a before he can get to the appeal process. He'll have to go to the protest room if he finishes on the podium and wants to stay there today. Paulie, though, through on Gaffera, and Caleb caught the marbles. He'll lose 2 more.
Overback back through. We know the pace that James has. If he can just go out there and get back towards the front of the field. But Miles around Garzone. It's a change for the lead. MDR up top. Garzone, Nash are top 3. Gaffera is going to fall back, obviously. So now it's Massimino and Phillips in that top 5 spot. How about it? It's MDR, Orsalon, Nash, BJR, Arcane. That's a pretty cool top 5. A lot of the same go-karts, but always cool to see different branding.
6 laps in, we seem that like we can finally catch our breath a bit here now. Well, no. Caleb Gaffera just got boot, scoot, and boogied all the way to the high side, and he's going to lose 3 spots as Brandon Lemke's comeback charge now begins with a nice move, a heads-up position there on Enzo Vidmontien. He's got to go now, and he's got to go quick. Trying to go to work now on one of the Rocket Racing entry machines. That was Quentin and Jelly.
Well, I think Christian Miles just got shoved to the wayside there through 6 and 7. Blake Nash, new leader, Garzone to P2. So we have a change for the lead, and Miles looks over his shoulder, and again, a slight change, right? It's not BJR, MDR, it's BJR, and then Mike Doty Racing, a separate tent. Still good to work together as Vid Montien stalled it on the back straight.
motor problems here for Enzo Vidmontien as Blake Nash now commands the field, and we've got other issues down in turn 1. Who is that? That is the 996 of Dominic Karai on top of the 924 LN Kart of Shane Reddy, 16th and 17th. Yellow flags waving down here on the short shoot as Vidmontien pulls off to the inside.
I mean, every time you say we have a chance to catch our breath, we don't. It just keeps shuffling. This is what we expected from KA Senior, though. This is what we expected from the KA Junior class if Theo Salamao wasn't so dominant. Here goes Massimino to the inside. Miles makes it easy. It's basically BJR, MDR, 2, 3, and 4 right now as these drivers are trying to go after Blake Nash. Blake coming off of a huge win over on the Rotax West Trophy side of things, getting a ticket over to Bahrain. Overback through on Miles now. Tried the crossover, couldn't make it stick. Somehow, some way, Massimino and Overbeck had a really rough start, fell back, and they're back to second and third now.
So fun to watch these two now. Christian Miles, James Overbeck, and then, of course, Paulie Massimino right in front of them try to go to work and display a little bit of individual pace here. It's taken us about 8 laps, almost 9, to separate your leaders enough for just individual passes like that to happen and to finally see the difference in speed. If there was any testament, though, in not losing your head in the early couple of laps, it's got to be how Paulie and James played it. Both of them from the front row getting shuffled back outside the top 5 for James, back down to 5th for Paulie. And then to just stay there, to stay cool, to take care of their stuff, and let everybody else race themselves out of the main pack. Now, at the midway point, they've got a great opportunity to really hunt down Blake Nash and then maybe get around him and build a gap. Meanwhile, this group here, they have got to get away from everyone else and some way or another keep sight of the leaders at the same time. Brandon Lemke is going to put himself into the top 10 as Donovan Bonilla goes off.
And that was by himself, too. No help at all. Steven Eisner, you saw him messing with the needles on the back straightaway there. So Steven Eisner messing with the needles. And again, not what you want to see if you're speed sense, because anytime your driver's looking down instead of looking forward, the drivers behind him know that there might be a slight issue with the engine.
Let's go down to Caleb Viesca here really quickly as the racing continues. Big move from Tony Rivera on Steven Eisner trying to get by. And Jose Hernandez there side by side with fast Frankie Mossman through the bus stop. Caleb.
Thank you. Early DNF for Caleb G into the pits with a flat front left. Back to you guys.
Heartbreaker there for Caleb Gaffera. We knew his day was about already somewhat in trouble, knowing how much of a struggle it was for him just to keep the bumper on, and it got deployed. But here for the lead, Paulie Massimino and James Overbeck, a BJR 1-2 punch, and Blake Nash is still reeling from it as he ends up dropping a tire out of 3, and now he's vulnerable to Christian Miles and crew.
Time to get back to work for Blake Nash because he just lost a couple of kart lengths now with that dropping of a tire to Overbeck. And again, that pretty much ruins the next 2 corners for you trying to get the dust off the tires. So if you're Christian Miles, if you're Garzone, this is your time to pounce. That being said, this is one of those weird situations where if you're Christian Miles and you get up to Blake Nash, do you pass him or work with him because your 2 teammates are up front?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, again, somewhat teammates, right? These 2 groups here, Bright Doty Racing, Brandon Jarskuk Racing, have worked together this year, the first year with both of them running as independent operations. The first time we've got to get used to looking at those LN karts of Mike Doty Racing and the blue and white BJR kit as 2 different operations. We just saw Christian, though, lose his spot to a true pair of teammates in Sebastian Garzone and Mateo Pappas, who, by the way, Mateo has been probably the most talked about driver in our top 6 right now inside the top 5. The 919 hasn't yet led laps this weekend. I believe he's the only one in your top 6 drivers that has not taken the lead yet. Here's a look at the big moment, though, for the lead. Both of them going by, and I don't know if Blake Nash kind of caught the right rear bumper of James Overbeck, or if he just didn't anticipate it well enough. But that's not the first time we've seen someone have to stay on the outside through the entirety of turn number 3, Alex, and the marbles offline in turn 3 take you straight into the dirt.
Yeah, it's so frustrating as a driver because you just always want more grip, and you think you can go side by side until you can. I think Blake, yeah, I couldn't tell if he hooked the right rear bumper of Overbeck or just tried to floor it a little bit too soon, and unfortunately, as the exit of turn 4 goes on, it's slightly off cambered. That curbing is a little bit slick. But nonetheless, hasn't really gotten him out of shape. He's re-caught the group to the front, and Overbeck senses it.
His hand. He's forced James to stop pushing Paulie and go to the lead.
Because at some point, when you're teammates, you have to get a little bit selfish, and we're getting to the latter half of the race now. 10 to go here Still a long race, and the more you fight up front, that gap to that next group is closing, and it's not even a next group anymore. It's become one solid group. Garzone, Pappas, Miles back into the mix, and Ty Fisher has resorted himself as a top contender. He leads that next group of Bonilla and Brandon Lemke, a driver that if you ever give him some red mist, he's not somebody that you really want to go out there and fight against.
I think they're all going to end up stacking up for the lead here sooner rather than later, as there's a big bobble out of Christian Miles, absolutely to the wayside in turn 1. He'll try to block low in 3. Ty Fisher all over him now. Bonilla there, Lemke there, Phillips. Look who's right still in the mix. Steven Eisert, speed sense machine. But if Miles is able to keep them at bay and does it by white lining here, that'll impede all the progress they were just starting to make towards this 5-pack up front, trailed by Mateo Pappas. So let's look at it down the backstretch, and well, yeah, it did explode right there. Ty Fisher in the TB.
Yeah, Ty, unfortunately, one of the victims of just pack racing there. Let's see if he pulls in. He's going to keep fighting. I mean, it's still, he didn't fall back all too much. I think a little bit further behind than Frankie Mossman. Out front, though, this top 5 hasn't changed since the last lap. Garzone, a slight bobble out of 1. At some point, I wonder if the Orsilon pair, they're fast enough to get there. Who's going to be the first one to make a move? I think if you're Pauly, you got to go. Yeah, Pauly's going to go down the inside here at 6 and 7. You want to at least create a buffer for James up front. Garzone wants to go through. Pappas wants to go through on his teammate, but he has to bail because the inside of 9 becomes the outside of 10.
That and playing the smart game there. If they would have gone side by side, they might have opened the door for Blake Nash to get too far out of reach for him. Garzone's going to have a shot at Nash in turn 1. He wanted it, couldn't quite get it. All on the low side. James Overbeck with the biggest lead any driver's had so far today here in KA Senior. His teammate into second. Pressure's on Pauly to run him down, but is this a big-time statement by last year's KA superstar in Overbeck to put one on Pauly Massimino, the OKN Stars champ? These two were only on the racetrack together a handful of times last year, and the biggest win for both of them when they were together was when they were not on the track together, but teamed together at the Mark Harrison Memorial 200. That's at least the first event that comes to mind for me, seeing both of those drivers in KA machines for Brandon Jarzakrak Racing. But today, it's a matter of head-to-head individual racing, and James has the upper hand here late in the going, although Pauly was able to get back to neutral with him lap time-wise last time, and Blake seems to be willing to push him now that he's gotten some gap, a bit of cushion back to Mateo.
You need more than equal to go out there and catch Overbeck, and with 6 to go, this is going to help at least the front group continue to pull away. Peyton Phillips going to drop to the latter half of this group as Lemke now leads this second quintet, I guess you could say, or there's more. There's actually 6 drivers in this mix, as Tony Rivera wanted to go on Miles. Miles goes low. He's going to ruin the exit here. Phillips and Eisert working together as well, but how about the run for Tony Rivera through the field?
Yeah, Tony Rivera on the move right now here. The Team Ferris Racing Kart Republic from 20th up to 9th. Great drive here in the main event. Good amount of spots gained for him. Same for Donovan Bonilla up 10. He granted had a much better start, an easier one being on the inside lane. Tony had to do it from the outside back in 20th, but Donovan up from 17th to 7th. And behind them as well, Steven Eisert, 23rd to 11th. Quentin Angeli, 25th to 12th. So some big movers right around to the end of the top 10 and outside of it. But Christian Miles, the backward slide hasn't stopped. He's only been able to kind of just get to neutral at points, but he's still defending more than he's being able to hit his marks and attack. And I think, again, that's probably what took Ty Fisher out of the running here in this main group and could send Christian Miles into more danger if he's frustrating drivers having to cover that spot off.
Well, Nash has gone through on Pauly Massimino at front. So Blake Nash now, the shackles have been unleashed on that Nash Motorsports EOS machine. What does he have? He's got 4 laps to do it, a little bit less than 4 laps to do it now to get after James Overbeck. And it's a setup masterclass for the top 3 because lap time-wise, Overbeck did his personal best last time around. He just went purple this lap on lap 22 of 25. The laps are getting better and better for these drivers. Pauly a little bit slower than his best lap last time around due to getting passed by Blake Nash. These 3 have now really stretched their legs in the rest of the field.
James Overbeck just needs to keep hitting his marks. He could still give up a 10th or 2 per lap and bring it home, but I think even this lap he's starting to pull further away. The wild card that could play a factor here is there's a pack at the back of the field that is still fighting right now. I don't believe were waved in this time. They might have been warned ahead of James, but here they are down at turn number 1. There's lap traffic, and there's the race leader. They go off at all, they bring any dirt on the track, or if something happens and James has to avoid them, well, things could get a little bit wild. Paulie still trying to help Blake Nash's case to lead the pair back forward. Last time by, they evened out to James. This time, yeah, maybe. It's still just around a 1 second buffer.
Yeah, the lap times are ticking down, and I think at this point, James is quick enough. Paulie is faster than the pair of them up front, but they're gonna need a lot more than a 10th or 2 at this stage in the race. They're gonna see 2 to go this time by. Mathematically, they need half second a lap if you're Blake and Massimino.
Pass there for Peyton Phillips on Steven Eisert. Battling here between the Orsillo and Tony Kart. Garzone with a slick move there on Mateo Pappas for 4th.
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, right, when you look back, you have a 2.5 second buffer to Lemke, a 2 second buffer to Paulie Massimino. You know the best you're going to do at this stage, unless anything crazy happens, if your Garzone is 4th. So might as well go out there and pass your teammate.
I think we might have just saw Paulie go by. Indeed, yeah, Paulie Massimino right at the bottom of the frame. Finally decided, okay, that's enough. I got to get by for 2nd. And coming to the white flag, James Overbeck's lead, about a 1.5 seconds. Paulie Massimino now with a couple car lengths back to Blake Nash, sending him kind of into the marbles. It's a huge gap, 2.3 seconds. Blake must have been defending or fighting that pass a little bit. James Overbeck, another quick time, purple lap. Just an incredible second half of this race. From the front row, going back to 7th or 8th on that first lap by, he has rebounded tremendously.
James Overbeck, we spoke with him on the Friday afternoon. He's a driver that loves this racetrack, has had success here. But at the racetrack where he saw his idol growing up, Jimmy Johnson, have a lot of success at, James Overbeck, rounds turn 11, he's gonna do what Jimmy Jam's done. He wins here in KA Senior.
Paulie Massimino will complete a Brandon Jarsacrack Racing 1-2. Blake Nash 3rd. Sebastian Garzone 4th over Mateo Pappas with that slick move down in turn 1 with 2 to go. Brandon Lemke drives his way all the way back up to 6th after getting sent down to as low as 15th. Christian Miles hangs on for 7th. Donovan Bonilla 8th. Anthony Rivera 20th to 9th. Peyton Phillips 10th at the end of it all. And a quick handshake there as the BJR boys lock out the top 2 spots. What a performance here from the pair of them. And James Overbeck, especially this weekend, he didn't look like the outright best driver, the outright favorite coming into the main today. He ends with a phenomenal performance from really lap 13 on. He just let it eat and pulled a massive, massive margin by the end. Fast lap of the day. And the main event win leading over half the circuits around the 948. Victorious here, Paulie Massimino. A quick congratulations from him and from Blake Nash there. Nice to see some clean racing again from KA Senior. This class at points throughout last year got a bit tough to watch sometimes with how chaotic, how crash filled it could get for the race win. But this was as close as you could get quarters racing-wise, and still very clean for the most part. Not everyone had a clean run through. Obviously, we saw a few get knocked off, Brandon Lemke especially, but more like Jose Carlos Hernandez into the weeds, and a few bit of incidents outside the top 10. But for the lead, for the race win, for about the entirety of it, once we got the pack kind of separated, it was clean. And James Overbeck kicks off his U.S. Pro Kart Series with a win, Caleb.
Yeah, thank you. I think Alex said it best, right? A place where you saw your idol, Jimmy Johnson, win races. You do it with the 48. How special is it to win here today?
It's so cool, and especially because I've never won a KA race here. I've always had it on the list that one that I wanted to win was a KA race here, and I've been so close to many times the past few years, and it's nice to get when I know how much Brandon likes to win here. This is one of his favorite places, so I let him down a little bit a few months ago, but I think I redeemed myself.
Yeah, and as well, I mean, how special is it, right? You and Paulie, a 1-2 for the BJR crew. We'll talk to Paulie here as well, but how is it for you guys after all the hard work you guys have gone through?
Yeah, for sure. It was. I wasn't really expecting a 1-2 after the start we got. It looked like to me the inside road just got shoved and everyone went straight in turn 1. So we me and Paulie got set back pretty far. I don't know where I went back to, but I was back there and just had to maneuver my way up there. And I could tell once Paulie was in first, I was in second. He was sliding around a little bit, so I passed him, and we set sail from there. So it was a hard race. It definitely didn't come easy, but we showed that we had the 2 fastest pieces on the racetrack.
Last year you were the underdog, James, looking for the rest of the year.
Just like I said in my interview a few days ago, just keep doing what I've been doing. We don't have to be the fastest right out of the gate, but I think just keep working at it all weekend, and we eventually find ourselves getting there almost every time. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the year, and hopefully we can keep this momentum up, especially at USPKS. You know, the end of the year goal is to win a championship, so just keep doing what we've been doing and don't stop now.
Congrats, James.
Thank you.
We'll move on here to Paulie as well. I saw you happy. Obviously, it wasn't a win for you today, but how special is it for you guys to go 1-2 here today?
Oh, it's great. You know, I don't mind. You know, if I win or if anybody else under our team wins, as long as we get the win, you know, it's really cool to get 1-2. I know we started 1-2 as well, but like James said, you know, the inside road just got completely shoved out of the way. So we got set back a little bit in the beginning, but we ended up bouncing back. Super proud of James. He's a monster. It's hard to keep up with him, but try my hardest. And, you know, it's great because on Thursday we were probably about 7/10 off, so to come back and finish 1-2, we could definitely be proud of that.
Who made it possible for you guys here this weekend to have such a good result?
You know, the whole BGR team, BBS, Offset, Nexet, my dad, of course, doing double duty, so he's been a little busy all weekend. Everybody under that tent. Let's see, who Odenthal. But yeah, best team in the paddock, best KA100 team. So if you want to run the best, come with us.
Well, there you go from Paulie Massimino. Engines are firing on the grid. We'll send it back up to Xander.
Thank you, Caleb. And you're right. We're ready to roll here as the carts head onto the racetrack. Let's take it through the starting lineup for the Mini Swift main event. Enzo De Janeiro on the Parolin USA number 190 is going to lead your field to green here. Holden Myers in the Timmy Tech Comp Cart will join him on the outside of row number